Welcome, viewer, wherever you are. We are welcoming you into this very captivating show, LTN Sports Plus, where you get to know more about what is in football, in sports, and beyond. This is where we try to dissect matters as they appear superficially and how they appear in law and even what is hidden in it. Today, once again, we will be talking about one very essential component of football. And not only football, sports as a whole, because we know every sporting entity at one time or the other requires resources. These resources must come from somewhere. And this somewhere must be somewhere that is lawful, somewhere that is contracted, somewhere that all the parties are in agreement, and therefore a partnership of sorts is required. In this regard today, we will be speaking about what it is that makes commercial rights in sports, and in this case football, such an essential part of the growth of football and development. We want to know exactly what it is, what are the rights, who owns the rights, how are the rights exercised, and for whose benefit. This is very important, and all this is cascaded from the FIFA statutes down to the associations and even to the branches of every association. And that is what we are going to be discussing today. And as usual, I'll be having this guy here with me, Mr. Lodvik Aduda, who is a former CEO of the Federation, is also a former CEO of one of the leading clubs in this country, and somebody who has so much knowledge about this. Yes, today, let's get to know what it is when it is unpackaged in terms of rights and commercial rights, should I say. That is what you're going to be discussing today. Welcome, Bwana CEO. Once again, it's good to see you this week. Last week was so nice. Guys liked the debate. It was so informative. Today, we are delving right into what we know is supposed to be a contentious sometimes aspect of football development. And this is the commercial rights.
Thank you very much, Nick. I hope you've had a good weekend.
Definitely.
Celebrated the Eid ul-Had properly.
Eid al-Hadha. It's even hard to pronounce. Eid al-Hadha, something like that. It went down well, yeah?
Yeah, that is fine. We have a lot to also learn to be able to know what all these rights are all about and what are the rights in particular. I believe that in our context, that is in the Kenyan football context, we must realize that there are different components of rights. Now, these different components of rights are all domesticated within the Football Kenya Federation Constitution, to be precise at Article 81, which talks about the rights. Now, these rights, to begin with, belong to FKF and its members, Football Kenya Federation and its members. And the members, of course, are the clubs.
Yeah.
They are the original owners of all the rights. And I believe that there are about 8 components of the rights. We have the financial rights. We have the audiovisual rights. We have rights to do with radio recording. We have rights to do with radio reproduction. We have rights to do with live broadcast. We have rights to do with the multimedia. We have marketing and promotional rights. And then we have the incorporeal rights. The incorporeal rights, so to speak, for example, to have to do with the copyrights and even the emblems, the badges that the clubs have. All those are classified under incorporeal rights. Now, we have a situation in the country where we have not been in a position to exploit all the rights. As far as I'm concerned, we have basically been exploiting 2 out of the 8 rights that I have mentioned and which are provided for under the FKF Constitution. We have exploited the live broadcasting rights. You remember when we had Super Sports. We also, at some point, had a short stint with Star Times. We have tried it with FTS, free-to-air stations locally. And now we are with Azam TV, which is currently a live broadcasting partner. The 18 clubs participating in the FKF Premier League syndicated their rights, gave the authority to the federation, as is dictated by, I think, Sub-Article 3 of Article 81, which gives the National Executive Committee, the mandate to exploit these rights on behalf of the members. And we believe that before the advent of television, first and foremost, we must also realize that football loves television and television loves football. Before the advent of broadcasting live matches, we realized that the prime income generation, the revenue stream for clubs all over, were the number of, fans and supporters who thronged the respective match venues. So the revenue was basically constricted to match day, income. But once we came up, and thanks to the EPL, because they were the first to look at, the big 6 clubs in the EPL looked at the position or the possibility of looking at broadcasting, procedures or processes or engagements as part of, additional income to the clubs. Now, we find that at the first instance, the broadcasting rights in EPL was given out to Sky and BTB for an initial 5-year, season. Thereafter, they reduced it to 3 years, and whereas in other leagues or in other countries, we have different, arrangements with regards to the exploitation of the rights. In Spain, for instance, at some point, the two big clubs, that is Barca and Real Madrid, used to exploit their live broadcast rights, individually, before the rest of the other clubs in the La Liga, came up in arms, and they decided now it is important for all the clubs to syndicate their rights so that they could all be exploited under the auspices of La Liga. Now, we find that there is a disparity in terms of, the distribution of the monies that accrue from, syndicating the rights. What is happening in the country ideally should be changed for the Kenyan clubs and the products of the Kenyan Federation, which is the Premier League, to enhance its status. The money that comes from live broadcasting should be viewed in two dimensions. One, we should be looking at the domestic rights, right? And we should also, on the other hand, look at the international, rights, broadcast rights. What do I mean to say here? If, for instance, we look at the history of live broadcasting, we realize that in the EPL, it was initially the Sky and BT, all right? Now, thereafter, we found that some of these, stations, or the clubs decided to, go out for pre-season, engagements. The core reason for all that was to try and expand their fan base, right? Now, with the fan base, it meant that the broadcasters could get into the next leverage, which is advertisement. So, besides getting money from potential subscribers, the broadcasters also got money through adverts. Now, when they collected all this amount of money, then they paid for, because football has a following, a demographic following, particularly from the age of about 14, 15 to around 45, who equally also have, at times have disposable income, yeah, with which they can subscribe, for pay to view, yeah, products, as well as being in a position to purchase some of the products which products and services which also belong to some of the sponsors. Now, when we get the entire amount of money from live broadcasting, if we are dealing with the domestic rights, then these monies ought to be divided into different pots. What I mean to say is that ideally half of the money, accrued from or obtained from broadcasting rights, 50% of that amount of money should be distributed evenly to all the 18 clubs participating in the Kenyan Premier League. A quarter of that money should be distributed, on merit. Yes, meaning that the distribution should be pegged on the positions of the clubs in the final league standings. And the remaining quarter, which is a facility fee, should be distributed to the clubs depending on the number of times a club has its matches broadcasted live. Now, that is not what is happening in the country. Now, do we have benefits of such kind of an arrangement? Studying what has happened in other leagues and what has caused the vibrancy of those leagues, we find that a team might win the league, right? But might end up getting much more than the prize money for having won the league, compounded together, because it might have had more of its matches, televised, than the club that has actually won the league. Now, it is beneficial because it makes, the clubs, have adequate finances with which they can use to hire some of the best, talents, organize, quality pre-season sessions, and generally improve the welfare.
Improve the team generally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you've spoken to a lot of things, but One cardinal aspect that I'd love to delve in is the decision that is arrived at between the broadcaster and the team or the FA. Is there a standard way, or this thing is just on the highest bidder for live broadcast? For instance, say if Azam had a competitor who came along with them, would the federation be put under any regulations that they go with Azam, or they should find whoever has more money or bidding, all along with other aspects of the benefits that come with it? Because I think there must be a formula, or there must be a way that federations or associations will arrive at who becomes our broadcaster, or the clubs or the members. Is it the amount of money somebody brings in, or is something that has to take some particular procedure?
Well, the driving factor here is the amount of money, you know, that the broadcaster, particularly one that wants to have the exclusive rights. But as I did mention earlier, we have different components, you know, and live broadcast is just one of the other components, right? What happens, for instance, to those matches that are not broadcast live. Okay? Is there a possibility that we can have these matches, such kind of matches, you know, being given to other service providers, for instance? What kind of an arrangement would we have in a situation where we want to give back to the people, you know? That is where the FTAs come in. For instance, if the national broadcaster, KBC, wants to air live some of those matches that have not been sold, you know, what happens?
So arrangements like that now.
All these kind of arrangements must. What would happen to the recorded matches, you know? The clubs ought to agree with the federation that it is foolhardy to syndicate all the rights
In one
under, for instance, broadcasting. Because I saw a circular from the federation trying to ban, you know, advertisements on
the LED, side pitch electronic banners.
Yes. I'm yet to be told whether, you know, the clubs also signed off such kind of rights, you know, together with the rights that they sold to Azam. Because it is essential that during live broadcast, the clubs, particularly the home-based, you know, if it is your home match, it is one of the revenue streams that you can be able to use
to get
more money. Yeah. Look at it this way. At the first and second preliminary rounds of the CAF inter-club competitions, that right is given to the home teams.
The home teams, CAF does that.
Yes. Now, it would be foolhardy for the federation to put a gag on that. I really don't understand. But probably because the contents of the contract between the federation and Azam have never been made public. But
yeah, even as we talk about that, together with that as well, Azam has the rights to all the matches played. It doesn't matter whether they're televising or not. So that clusterization that you spoke about, I don't think is adhered to into this, because you will find a match being played somewhere in Mumias complex. Say Kakamega Homeboys versus another team would be playing there, but they'll be in Machakos. But still, that match is treated as an Azam match, which is supposed to be shown on Azam, even though it's not shown anywhere. You don't even see anybody trying to record the match so that it goes into records as one of the recorded ones? I don't know. Just what formula do you think is in place here? Because from what you've explained, this thing is something that I must agree is in an intricate kind of negotiation.
Yeah, it is true, because you see,
What happens then? Because Azam seems to be having everything for them,
which
the way they want.
which I believe was a mistake, if that is exactly what was signed off to Azam. Yeah, it is the members. Yeah, it should be at the members' discretion to understand, because these are part of their revenue streams. They have the rights. So you cannot, exclusively sell all your rights, for such kind of amount of money. I am also looking at, I've also seen a situation where there is a suggestion to, sign a 15-year marketing and promotional rights. Why is it marketing and promotional rights? Because we want to, we are trying to propose to give SportPesa those rights so that they become the title sponsors of the league. You cannot sign contracts beyond your term of office in the first place. And two,
this one runs for a crazy 15 years.
That is, it's inappropriate.
Okay, it's not something that is still on the table. It's an allegation.
Well, allegation or
it's
a
an
proposition.
allegation.
We are simply, what we are simply doing is...
It's good to know that it's an allegation, because, we are broadcasting this one, and we have to make facts what facts are, and if there are allegations, they remain allegations.
Well, what we are saying is, even if the allegations or proposals being fathomed at some quarters, what we are saying is that it is ill-conceived, because tying marketing and promotional rights for 15 years for a paltry 2 billion shillings is, to say the least, the worst decision any rightful thinking person, club official or federation official can come up with. But let us not get into...
I believe it will not get there, because
let us not get involved with the PR stunts and play with very important, aspects or instruments of football development.
Yeah. Now, as you go on that, still back in what we have, do you think we are exploiting the broadcast rights properly right now? Do you think the members of this association are getting what they deserve out of this broadcasting right?
As I've said before, I would be in a position to really comment, appropriately, if I had the latitude of seeing the contents of the broadcasting contracts signed between the clubs and the federation with Azam.
Okay. Then that one makes sense. But from what we see outside here, it is Azam that actually you would think they are the league sponsors, but they are broadcast partners.
Yeah.
But now tell us, where's the line when you bring a league sponsor and then you have a broadcast partner? Who plays what role? Who has the bigger say?
We have had similar situations before, when at some point the Kenyan League was sponsored by the Kenya Breweries.
Tusker Premier League.
Under their flagship brand, Tusker, and that is why it was referred to as Tusker Premier League. We also at some point had SportPesa also coming in as the title sponsor of the league, and we did refer to that league then as SportPesa Premier League. But we also had a broadcasting partner then in the name and style of SuperSports.
SuperSports, yeah.
Okay, so the two should be able to complement one another in terms of, pumping in money out of the rights that have been sold to them, because they don't do it for free.
It's not for free.
It is not for free.
So, however, it's no, there is no ratio or a formula for this. If you want to negotiate for a league sponsorship, you do it to the maximum of your benefit.
Depending on the value of the league.
Of the league.
And the value of the clubs.
Of the clubs.
Look at what is happening in Tanzania now. You know, before we used to have an influx of players from Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda coming into the Kenyan League.
Yeah.
The opposite is now happening. Everybody is trying to troop into the Tanzanian League, particularly to go and play for the big four or the big five teams already in Tanzania.
Are they five really? Over and above Azam, Yanga, and Simba, which other teams?
We have Simba, we have Yanga, we have Azam, we have Singida Big Stars, yeah, and we equally have a club like Dodoma Jiji. I mean, what they are doing in Tanzania is much more than what our big clubs in Kenya are doing. So definitely, you know, and that has made it possible for other middle-table clubs in Tanzania to be able to attract even some of the top talents from Kenya. Pamba, you know, Mbeya City, Fountain Gate. We've had a chance to visit Tanzania to play against Fountain Gate,
yeah.
and you could see the euphoria that was in Manyara, you know, where they have brought, you know, into their squad real players of reputable, you know, pedigree from other countries. You were there when they were unveiling their players.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, those are top. Those are some of the top names. Yeah, from some of the top leagues in Africa. You know, courtesy of the fact that the Tanzanian Premier League now, yeah, has a title sponsor, yeah, and the Tanzanian League also has a broadcasting partner.
We're supposed to be Azam as well, I think.
Which is Azam.
Yeah, Azam as well, yeah.
So, somebody should be able to explain to us whether we know the difference between domestic broadcasting partners and international broadcasting partners. Yeah? Because from where I sit, I believe Azam should be categorized as an international broadcasting partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, taking cue from what happened between FKF and StarTimes. StarTimes dictated even on the kickoff times, yeah, which affected also the growth of Kenyan football. There were matches which were being played at 1, if you remember. Yeah. So a match being played at 1 in Kenya definitely will not
have the fan base.
So, in as much as you are trying to get money from the broadcasting rights, you are equally denying the clubs an important revenue stream
from the fans. The gate
collections.
Okay. Now, looking at that, the federation having banned all side pitch electronic banners and all this kind of thing, does it therefore mean, in your opinion, that they are stifling revenue from the clubs, and what are they giving the clubs in return? Because as we know, our league doesn't have a league title sponsor, and that again jeopardizes the growth of this league, because if a team finds a way to raise revenue, it should be supported, it should not be curtailed. Address this together with the fact that it's now something that the federation says it's banned.
Well, if that regulation or directive has come as a result of the clubs having signed off their rights to Azam, then the federation is right. The clubs or the club representatives who might have signed off such kind of a right
slept on the job.
Two, if if the clubs never signed off that kind of right together with the broadcasting rights, then the federation is wrong. Whichever way, I believe there is need to harmonize, given that the federation and the clubs are the original owners of all these rights. There is need to harmonize and relook at the possibility of separating, whatever might have been signed off, so that the clubs get opportunity to make much more money or income from the different components of the rights which belong to them. But that is not to say that the federation has the unilateral decision to deal with just 18 clubs, because according to the constitution, the rights belong to the federation and its members. The clubs participating in the National Super League are members. The clubs participating in the Women Premier League are members. The clubs participating in the Division 1, Division 2, the regional, the county, and the sub-county leagues are all members of the federation. Yeah. So when you are given the responsibility as the National Executive Committee, to market the rights, then you should negotiate for amounts that will be able to help the clubs who are your members, right from the lowest strata to the Premier League, the opportunity to also benefit from the rights. In as much as we would also try to argue that the Premier League is the apex. Yeah. It is true. The Premier League is the apex, but that should not. A conscious, a federation should look at utilizing the amounts accrued from signing off such kind of rights, to enable them develop football in the clubs right from the sub-counties.
Well, in the interest of time, maybe before we just pen off, one thing that again came out today was the authorization of football and football organizations across the country. There's a circular that just came out where the federation gave an elaborate explanation as to why all football matters, all football leagues, all football plans that are in the country must align with the federation. And they cited FIFA, CAF, and even the federation's clauses to support that. Now, a case in point is, every December, I see politicians do a lot of tournaments here and there. By the way, every end of this country during the December holidays, it's a tournament kind of fever moment for tournaments. For politicians, an MCA X does this tournament, Governor X does this and this and that. And even right now, there are other leagues that are running other. Tell me, where does this leave the associations? Because there are leagues that are played under associations. You know that so well. There are there's now the Football Kenya Federation. And again, there are other leagues that are playing outside there. Is FKF within its mandate to give that kind of a caveat into football and football authorization in the country?
Well, as far as I know, is that Football Kenya Federation, which is the member association representing Kenya at FIFA, is an associate of the world body FIFA. And the world body FIFA is in charge of regulating association football in the world. Association football is regulated by the laws, approved by IFAB, International Football Association Board. Now, if that is the case, then FKF can only restrict themselves to regulate activities within the meaning of association football.
Meets members only.
If you get to the objectives of FKF as pronounced by the FKF Constitution, look at what sub-article B of Article 2 of the FKF Constitution talks about. They are only in charge of organizing, regulate, in charge of association football competitions. If you look at sub-article H, they control, and regulate association football. Because this is what FIFA does. So they cannot get to control or to gag anything that is not within
that jurisdiction.
The jurisdiction of association football. Because, for instance, we have aspects of commercial football being played under the aegis of left foot, league. That is a commercial league. How will FKF get to be involved with that kind of an arrangement? We also have street football, which is being played up to the World Cup level. I mean, that is definitely not
out of their scope.
Of their scope. Okay. Now, I do understand probably where they are coming from. There has been a prevalence of football activities almost every day and everywhere in the country. All that the federation ought to do, I'm saying this because I once did it, is to put a ban on all association football activities during the season, running from, that is, August to May of the following year. Okay? Because that disrupts the flow of the activities, both domestically and internationally. There are moments when the international calendar, has activities. We need to give an opportune time and environment for the preparations for the respective national teams to participate either in the CAF, qualifiers or World Cup or FIFA World Cup qualifiers. So, and two, there must also be some order, because we have also seen situations where some of the players would rather participate in some of those activities.
The backstreet tournaments.
The backstreet tournaments, the political, all this kind of mess that has been around. I believe that if the federation does that, I will be 100% in agreement with them. But the kind of blanket ban, gagging that they are trying to do is basically a violation of their own constitution, notwithstanding the fact that they are trying to quote what FIFA and CAF stand for. You must first look at what does FIFA stand for. You are only but an associate. So if FIFA stands for association football, then you cannot go outside the ambit of
association football,
of what FIFA stands for. Now, the other issue is also we are looking at a very dicey situation with respect to the authority. Effective to 2013, we have a specific law that governs the registration and management of sports in the country. To be precise, we have the Sports Act, which also gives authority, to, for instance, the county football associations. By law, they are in existence, right? So how do you, therefore, come as a federation to gag even the activities under the auspices of county football associations? So, in my view, I believe it would be important for the federation at the moment to ensure that they streamline this disparity between the branches and the county football associations, which, as we speak, are the legally registered as per the Sports Act. And that is why perennially the registrar of sports have been, day in, day out, reminding or giving directives to the federation to ensure that they align their constitution in tandem with the Sports Act and the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
Wow. I don't even feel like ending this show, because there's so much information flowing, so much knowledgeable, factual, and expert opinion that is flowing right here. I think much still needs to be done, because as it is right now, from the commercial end of it, from this gagging and authority that the federation is taking over, so much still has to be taken in terms of learning for the federation and football stakeholders to understand what they are doing in this business. It's very important that all of them come to understand that they are doing something that must first of all go hand in hand with the law that is there in place, and also look at what FIFA stands for and the objectives that Mr. Duda has just spoken about here. I know this show is getting better and better each and every day, and I know every other person who is a football lover is taking a lot of notes on this, because then this is what it is, and we only say it here at Sports, LTN Sports Plus every other Tuesday. My guest is none other than Lord Vicar Duda. Thank you again for showing up today, and I believe next week again we'll be having more to speak about. To the players, to the stakeholders, it is time now that we get everything right, especially on the commercial aspect of the game, because it adds to so much in terms of football development going forward. Every football entity needs cash, needs resources, needs sponsors, needs every other aspect of support to grow, and therefore we must get it right. If there's something that is wrong, time to begin rectifying it is right now. Otherwise, my name is Nick Okello. Till we meet again next week, it's been fantastic having you along. Let's do it again when it's appropriate.